Hello everyone. So I talked about this in the main channel a lot, but it's very, very important. It's something that I've experienced too in life. And it's not till you experience it, you know the difficulties, you know the full extent of this. And that's to do with ambulances waiting times. Now, it's very, very important to know the context and stuff all behind this. But basically, it is a problem across the country, not just in Cavan and Mon, but Cavan and Mon pretty much has it very bad, particularly in Cavan, that we have no paramedics. We have ambulances, but there's no paramedics. And you probably wonder why that is. The state won't pay the people. So because they're willing to pay Neve Smith and stuff. Neve Smith's getting well paid. Don't worry about that. She won't be out any pocket. But what I'm trying to say, the only paramedic is only getting tuppence. They should probably be getting the money Neve Smith's on, to be totally honest. But that would never happen, unfortunately. €3,000 a week. No, we couldn't do that. For doing actually good work and life saving people, but no, Neve Smith to get the money and stuff, and not even Neve Smith. I don't mean to specifically call her out, but you know, you get what I'm saying. I'm just using that as an example. Even our councillors and stuff are getting well paid. They're not doing it for nothing. But yeah, our paramedics are working hard. Some of them are doing double shifts, etc., because there's a lack of people to drive ambulances to get the patients to the hospitals and stuff. It's the same across the country, but in Cavan, it's very, very bad. It's really bad. Like, it's really, really bad. As you know, my father had to wait 5 hours for an ambulance. This is just after Christmas in 2020. In 2024, going into 2025. It was a terrible, terrible ordeal, lying on the floor for 5 hours and stuff. A man at 71, just to say, never one politician, never one councillor. You think some of them would have come to me and said, "Oh, it's a terror. We try and do our best and stuff," but never much for apology. Even from the HSC, we had to ring 999 3 times throughout. There were actually 4 times. I think it was maybe even 5 times, because we wouldn't kept on the line and stuff. You think they would have cared because at the time we didn't know. We thought he was dying. Now, of course, could have died. He had heart problems, etc. He could have took a heart attack, when he was lying on the floor. But yeah, not much of care, not much addition was shown, not much care was shown by the state. And again, this is an Irish citizen who worked all his life, worked since he was 14, not much care. None of my TDs, none of my councillors nowhere to be found. Everybody was nowhere to be found. But even the local media in Cavan, none of them wanted to know about it. They have heard about it, but they didn't want to talk about it because the far right extremism, we couldn't do that. Because, it's a simple thing. If this was a non-national, take what's happened, there would be on every newspaper in the country that a non-national was left on the floor for 5 hours to be war. To be literally, the country would fall apart. But this is the thing. There's so many people in Cavan. Take what's happened in my local area here in Butler's Bridge. Just actually speaking about it, was a football game, and the person waited for 5 hours for an ambulance to turn up because his leg was literally off because his literally was broken. And of course, they had to wait for 5 hours, and the ambulance didn't even turn up. They decided to bring him to the hospital themselves, even though it was a risk because the man leg was literally falling off. To be genuinely honest, like, it was not connected; it was just totally broken. The bone was just totally gone on it. And they had to bring him into the hospital and stuff, and nothing has changed. That was a few months ago. Nothing has changed. But the whole situation in Cavan is just evil. And to be totally honest, our councillors, and again, this goes by our councillors and TDs, they should be kicking up holy fucking hell. Like, they really should be. Like, we hear Cathy Barrett at the Sinn Féin, Chocty Dollar for area. She's up in the Dáil talking about it and stuff, but she's not kicking up holy hell. Like, she should be saying that we'd be having an independence referendum if something's not done soon. Because at the moment in time, they're sitting there saying, "Oh, to the government, can you please do this?" They should be saying, "Do it. Fucking do it. What are you waiting for?" Let's be honest, that's what they should be saying, because at the moment in time we're saying, "Oh, please, government, do something." But really, at the end of the day, they won't, because for years this has been a problem. It's not just turned up today. It's been a problem for probably the last 10 years nearly. It's got worse the last 5 years, particularly. Last 6 years, I would say. But it's been a problem for the last 10 years, and not something that just materialised overnight. But this is what I'm saying, that they simply don't give a shit about the people of Cavan. They simply couldn't give a shit about the Irish people. They couldn't give a shit. We see the state of Cavan General Hospital. There's people lying on trolleys every day of the week, and they don't give a shit. Simple as that. Nobody gives a shit. Neve Smith has a big job. Just I hate to tell you that, like, this is turning into just beating up Neve Smith today about it. But Neve Smith, is a local minister and stuff, and she's nowhere to be found. And getting stuff done for Cavan. Like, what has been done for Cavan, really? What has been done for Monaghan? Like, nothing's been done. As far as I see, it's becoming more chaos. Like, it's more chaos. And God knows, as we've seen by a report, there's no figures for Cavan or Monaghan, but particularly for Cavan, that there were so many people last year. I think they said there's probably nearly 600 a year or so to die because ambulances get there too late. And in some cases, even take us up on trolleys, there's so many people that die because they're not being treated, etc. So you could be looking at nearly 3,000 or 4,000 people a year maybe being died by the two of them, by being left in trolleys for hours, lying there to die. And an ambulance is not turning up in a lot of cases. We've seen in Mayo, the person was waiting for a few hours for an ambulance and died because the ambulance took too long to get there. But there's no care. There's no care at all. But I'm just saying to my local councils, and every person in Cavan would say the same, that they should speak up to fuck up. And the same with Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael TDs, two TDs in Fianna Fáil, and Fine Gael TD Maxwell. He should be speaking up. There's nowhere to be found. They're like mice. There's nowhere to be found to speak about this. And they should be speaking, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about their money. They're well looked after. They won't have to lie on the floor. I'm sure to God none of them will lie on the floor for 5 hours waiting for an ambulance. An ambulance will be very quickly found when something happens to them. But when it happens to the only Joe, there's not much care about them. And that's just a simple fact. That's just the simple truth about the matter, because we can't sugarcoat this, because there's too many people suffering over this. There's too many people suffering. There's too many families. Watching again, my poor father could have died on the floor, me watching them there. And God knows when they could have thrown up, and it would have been atrocious moment. It was really, really just atrocious. And I wouldn't wish them my worst enemy, and I genuinely wouldn't. But it just goes to show you that it's just a rotten system, and it needs to change. Thank you.